Hello, welcome to episode 6 of BookChat, a video series from the CH Booth Library. I'm Anne, and I'm here with my coworkers, Catherine, Lucy, and Amy, to talk about books. I am going to start by talking about a couple of books that were published over the summer that may have escaped your notice. And I like to start by mentioning that old adage, you can't judge a book by its cover. I don't think this is really true at all anymore. Modern book covers can tell you a lot about the book. And if you take my, whoops, that's not my first choice. My first book I want to talk about today is called Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. And if you're looking at this cover, you can probably guess that this is going to be historical fiction based on the painting there. And the subtitle is A Novel of the Plague. That would help, but the edition, whoa, goodness. I'm sorry, I lost my picture. The addition of that feather across the face there, that really lets you know that maybe something a little bit different, be about this book. Maybe it's not as written straightforwardly as historical fiction sometimes is. So yes, Hamnet is a historical novel. It's focused on the extended family of a London playwright, his wife, parents, and children, all living together in Stratford-upon-Avon. And the story examines the relationships between the families, contrasting the intense love affair of the playwright and his wife with their harsh upbringings. Much of the story is told through the wives, called Agnes or Anne, as a different variation of it. From her childhood, immersed in the natural world, learning about herb lore. She was a gifted healer on her family's farm, and goes on into her support of her husband's career and her fierce love for their children. The playwright is unnamed in the story, but obviously it's based on Shakespeare, but you don't have to be interested in Shakespeare or anything from that time to enjoy this novel. It's a really moving story about love, grief, forgiveness, the healing power of art, and the forces that compel people to create art. And it's just as beautiful and unusual as the cover art to me. I really loved it. It's good for fans of atmospheric historical fiction, like The Year of Wonders, the similar setting, and The Miniaturist, things like that. So I really would highly recommend Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine. I'm the YA librarian, so I'm going to be talking about some books that are good for tweens and teens, but they're also good for adults as well. So my first book is a graphic novel. It's also a 2021 Nutmeg nominee in the middle school category. And this is called The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. And so this book is about Prince Sebastian, who is a prince in Paris, who is, during the day, he is supposed to be looking for a wife to be like a normal prince, but at nighttime, he has an alter ego called Lady Crystalia. He likes to wear dresses and go out and be fashionable and fabulous. And then he hires a dressmaker named Frances, who is a very talented seamstress, and she becomes his friend and is the person who makes his dresses. So this is a great book for younger readers. It's fun, it's really charming, it has really fun art, but it also deals with issues of gender identity and self-expression in a really great way that I think is great for middle schoolers and up. So it's a great book, really fun to read, and it's quick because it's a graphic novel, so if you're looking for something fun and kind of escapist, but still dealing with some important topics, I really recommend it.
Hello, I'm Lucy. I do adult programs at the library. Strangely enough, I really love a maritime book. I love books that are set on ships. And this is one of my favorites, Racks Menagerie. I don't like this cover, but I love this book. I don't know why they made the cover so insipid. But anyway, it's fantastic. It's everything I love. It's about a street urchin who, he's out one day, his name is Jaffe Brown, and he comes across a tiger on the streets of the slum where he lives, and he goes to pet its nose and it picks him right up in its jaws. And this actually really happened. There are illustrations of it. This happened to some child back then in Bermondsey. So the tiger has escaped from Mr. Jamrach's menagerie, and he's a real person too in history. He hires all these young boys to collect these animals for people. So Jaffe goes to work for Charles Jamrach and eventually is sent on a voyage to catch a dragon, which is actually a Komodo dragon, a monitor lizard. The description is amazing. Then everything falls apart because this is partially modeled on the tale of the Essex, the terrible disaster where the ship was sunk. And in this case, it's not sunk by a whale. But then Jaffe's telling all this from mature middle age. He was a very young, tender-hearted boy when it all happened. He's got a great friend named Tim, and he is in love with Tim's sister, and we'll see what happens with that. It's just a really wonderful book for historical fiction. I strongly recommend it. I can't get enough people to read it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amy Schmidt, and I'm the head of the reference department on the 3rd floor. And on the 3rd floor is where we have all the nonfiction, so I have a couple new nonfiction books to talk about today. And they both are basically etiquette books. And the first one is, sounds a little grim. It's Do I Have to Wear Black to a Funeral and Other, I forget, 112 Etiquette Guidelines for the New Rules of Death. And as you can see, it's a very short book. So this gives you some information, but some resources to go and look further, because it talks about all sorts of things, like talks about if you're planning something for either yourself or someone in your family and how to find out more about different topics like doing a green funeral or donating your body to science. It also talks about basic things like, 20 years ago, things were pretty straightforward. You knew what to wear to most funerals. And now things have turned more lighthearted, not lighthearted, but to celebrate the person. So someone might very well not want you to wear black to the funeral. They want you to wear a bright color or something that represents them. And it also tells you it gives you some rules, but it also tells you to always trust yourself. You probably have the right instincts if you think about it. Because the two major things that most people probably are concerned about when it comes to talking about death and etiquette is, I don't know what to say, and so they make the mistake of not saying anything, or they know they should say something and then they start babbling. And she talks about these are the two big mistakes people make. You're right, but that's you can trust yourself. And she gives you some guidelines of what to say, how to say it, if it is okay, when should you be making a phone call, when should you be doing a condolence card, when is an email sufficient, things like that. So I found it really a nice brief guide to really gives you some self-confidence that you're probably handling things okay, but tells you how to know going forward, how to do even better. So that is Do I Have to Wear Black to a Funeral by Florence Isaacs.
Okay, great. Thanks, Amy. So my second book is called Migrations. Let's see if I can show you the cover and not my recipe collection. Migrations by Charlotte McConaughey, also a beautiful cover. This book is not historical. It's actually a near future setting centered around an environmentalist named Franny, who hires a fishing boat to take her to Antarctica to track down the last remaining flock of Arctic terns. I don't want to turn anybody off by saying that this is a dystopian or post-apocalyptic novel, because those things are not really the main point of the story, but in this near future setting, almost all wildlife has become extinct. Can't quite remember if they explain why that happened or if it just is. It's just part of the world that the story takes place in. So this fact, along with some clues dropped about Franny's personal life, provide a lot of tension and urgency to the book. And as Franny progresses on her journey on the fishing boat, more of her backstory is revealed, and the book takes turns that are both tragic and hopeful. So I do really like books that have this kind of back and forth between time and a slow unveiling of how that character got to where they are now. And whether or not you see it coming, the ending really packs a punch on this book. I really, really liked it. I'd say read Migrations if you're interested in near future scenarios, environmentalism, and enjoy books like The Overstory, or even something like Station 11 that still has a lot of hope in the ending. So don't be put off by the the somewhat grim initial setting of the book.
Okay, so my second book is something that was actually like really different from me. It's Look Both Ways by Jason Reynolds, and this is another great book I think for tweens and up. So basically, the premise of this book is I wouldn't call it really a novel, but it's not really a short story collection either. It's really just 10 stories about different middle schoolers and their experiences after school. So basically every chapter or story is another street in like this neighborhood. So stories of kids walking home from school on the school bus. And I love Jason Reynolds' writing because he is just so funny and his characters are so realistic and real. And so like the stories deal with like one character is like afraid of dogs after being attacked by a dog, and then he has to come to terms with the fact that there's a new dog on his way home from school. And then there's one character whose mother is a crossing guard. There's one story about a student whose mother has cancer. So it's like some serious topics, some kind of lighthearted topics, like dealing with first crushes, this kind of thing. Like basically everything that happens after school with all these middle school characters. And I just thought it was really fun read. I read it in about a day. It's short. Just great characters, great fun writing. So I really recommend this for both tweens, teens, adults, everybody. It's really great.
Sounds good. Okay, my second book is one that I am looking forward to reading and haven't read yet. So I can't review it firsthand, but it sounds great. It's by Stuart Turton, called The Devil and the Dark Water. He wrote the 7.5 Husbands or Wives of Evelyn Hardcastle. Lives. Anyway, this is set in 1634, and it's a ship voyage. They're going to Amsterdam from Batavia. This kind of reprehensible governor has this secret cargo called the Folly, and we don't know what it is. This famous detective, Samuel Pepys, has been thrown in chains and arrested and is being transported. We don't know why, because he hasn't done anything wrong. So Samuel and his friend Arent, who's kind of his bodyguard, are on this ship. And also on the ship are possibly a demon called Old Tom. It's a curse, and there's a dead leper who haunts the decks. Yeah, it sounds like a really good whodunit and horror. Let's see, what else do we have here? 3 passengers are marked for death. A mystery that stretches back into their past and now threatens to sink the ship, killing everyone on board. Sounds great. Anyway, I think it'll be thrilling. That's it.
And my second book is also a short little etiquette book, and it's called Kill, Reply, All by Victoria Turk. And again, this is, it's fun. She's British, so it definitely has that cheeky sense of humor. And it's a really nice, brief summary of basically how to behave online. It's a really good thing to give to people who maybe some of your relatives who are newer to using social media, or who are still like do things like reply all to a basic email that doesn't need to be. Also, if you ever have someone who uses an emoji incorrectly and has no idea why certain emojis are inappropriate to use, it has a nice little funny description of that. And it's funny, like if you already know the information in the book, it's a funny book. And if you don't know the information in the book, you learn a lot. So it's really perfect for basically everyone. And that's Kill, Reply, All by Victoria Turk.
Sounds great and useful, Amy.
Yeah.
So that's it for this month's book chat. So not every staff member can participate in the book chat. So if you want to see other recommendations, pick up a staff pick bookmark, like Amy's holding out a nice array there at the circulation desk. We'd love to see you there. Come talk about your favorite books and book covers with us, and look for our next book chat coming soon. Thank you.
Bye.